Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video we're going to migrate slowly an XML-based Android project which we have created in a previous video to Jetpack Compose step by step. But we're not stopping there. I'm gonna also show you how XML and Compose can live together in the same app, which is super useful when you're migrating slowly or want to reuse existing layouts. Let's get started. Here we have the original project we built previously using XML. It has two edit texts for username and password and a login button. The logic checks if the user enters John in 3 to 1 and then shows a toast. Before we dive into code, let's make sure Jetpack Compose is enabled in our project. Then we need to add the Compose dependencies and plugins and make sure your Kotlin version in build Gradle is 1.90 or higher. Make sure when adding dependencies that you did not add the same dependency twice, as that is going to show errors in your project and will not work. So always make sure that you added dependency only once in your Gradle. Now that we have added the dependencies needed for Compose, we are ready to sync our project. Now that the project is synced, I'm gonna go ahead and run the project to confirm all the dependencies has been added successfully. As you can see, the project has ran successfully and is still working on XML as we have done it previously. Now that Compose is enabled, we're ready to build our first screen and start converting our XML layout to modern Compose UI. And I'm gonna take it slow and start by showing you how XML and Compose can work together by converting first the button into a Compose view. Let's start by removing the button view and converting it to a Compose view. We no longer need the text here as it's gonna be part of the composable. Now let's go ahead and build our button in Compose, creating it as a composable. Now we need to create a function and give it the Kotlin annotation composable that tells the compiler this function is a UI component built with Jetpack Compose. Now that we are done with our composable button, it's time to edit our main activity to include the composable button and remove the old code we had. Now that we have set our composable view to include our login button that we created as a composable, it's time to move the logic that we previously had into the login button callback that we have created. Let's run the project and see our composable button in action. Well done! Now we have our composable button working fine inside of our XML layout. Now let's proceed and convert the whole project into Compose. Let's go ahead and also create the input fields as composables. Now the reason I'm creating each component as a separate file is to be able to reuse it later, so that when we later on create more screens, we don't get to copy and paste the same piece of code. We just call out the function, which enhances readability and reusability, and of course makes our code cleaner and reduces redundancy. Now that our UI components, the input fields and the buttons are ready composables, it's time to create our login screen. Now that we are done doing our composable login screen, it's time to create our application theme composable. Finally, now it's time to go to the main activity file and remove our XML related code from there and replace it with our compose code where we are going to call the login screen. And at this point, our project has been fully migrated to Compose, and we can also now remove and delete the XML file that we had. As you can see, our Compose application now is fully working and functional, and by that we have learned how to migrate our XML project into Compose and how we can make XML and Compose work together. If you have enjoyed this video and found it useful, make sure to like and subscribe for more.